Ladies and gentlemen, and a warm welcome on behalf of 3P Consultants to the 7th in series of webinars as we complete 31 years. Allow me to give you a quick introduction about 3P Consultants. The firm was established in 1990 by Mr. Nirmit Parekh and his father, and today we are a preferred choice for companies who are seeking to hire and identify leadership talent across the manufacturing sector. Our services include retained executive search for leadership roles, board searches, finding interim managers, and doing independent reference checks. Through our international partnership with Spengler Fox, we also provide access to our customers who are seeking talent across Asia, Europe, and Americas. Our topic of discussion for this day is leadership traits of digital frontrunners. We've budgeted about 45 minutes for this discussion, followed by a 15 minutes of Q&A. I would encourage all of you to post your questions in the Q&A box, which appears at the bottom of your screen. I'm delighted to welcome to you the guest for today. A quick introduction on Mr. Ms.Unnikrishnan. Mr. Unnikrishnan is the CEO of IITB Monash Research Academy since September 2020. The IITB Monash Research Academy is a major Indo-Australian research collaboration formed between India's top-ranked Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay, and Monash University, Australia. With substantial industry involvement, it is taking the lead in solving some of the most significant challenges of science, technology, and management. Before joining this institute, Mr. Unnikrishnan has been the Managing Director and CEO of one of India's foremost energy and environmental solutions companies, Thermax Limited, from 2007 until 2020. Mr. Unnikrishnan had played a significant role in transforming the Thermax Group from a family-run company into a professionally managed conglomerate, with the group revenues having multiplied by over 12 times in the last 15 years. He was conferred with the Asia Innovator of the Year 2012 award by CNBC for his contribution to innovations in the energy and environment sector and leading Thermax transformation with innovation at its core. In 2014, he was also awarded the Business Leader of the Year for Talent Management by CNBC TV 18. Recognizing his contribution to the field of mechanical engineering, the Institution of Engineers India has felicitated him as an eminent engineering personality in 2016. He graduated in mechanical engineering from VNIT Nagpur and has completed his advanced management program from Harvard Business School, US. A warm welcome, Mr. Unnikrishnan. Glad to have you today. Sir, you are muted.
Thank you. Thanks for that nice introduction. Too long, Sonal.
Sure, sir. The term digital transformation has attracted a lot of attention across the manufacturing industry and throughout the media recently. My first question is more to set up the context of the discussion. While the fourth industrial revolution, or Industry 4.0 as it is widely known, came with the general sense of optimism in its ability to positively transform economies and business, have manufacturing organizations shown the readiness to adapt to advanced technologies?
Well, Sonal, to make it easy for everybody and to bring everybody in the same platform, let me explain what all of us do talk about as Industry 4.0 in a very common way, and that will be applicable for manufacturing also. So when the world started using mechanization for manufacturing, with the invention of steam engine, human processes could be mechanized. So that is actually the first transformation which has happened. Second is when people started using electricity for mass production. the deployment of certain amount of automation happening. That is industry 2.0. In industry 3.0 is where we have started using the computers and equivalent of that into the manufacturing process. Industry 3.0. The 4.0 is something where a cyber physical combination, that is where connected machine learning, all this to happen. So that the clarity is brought, that we are talking on the same page for everybody who's listening to us. So coming to this, so has the manufacturing industry adopted to this? Absolutely yes. But it is not that everybody has moved into 4.0. And I had the fortune of doing a study conducted by a very well-known German consulting firm when I was chairing the BRICS Business Council for Skill. And in that, we've done a study of the BRICS countries to find out where are we. And I'm sorry, I'm ashamed to say that Indian industry, barring possibly the automobile industry, were still at 2.0, or many of them were just about coming closer to that. There is no company in India which is anywhere closer to 4.0. So for an Indian manufacturing setup to dream about 4.0, there is no leaping possible. You've got to go from 2 to 3 and 3 to 4. That is a reality. So that's coming to that level. But how adopt? That's what I'm talking about. Automobile industry is in any case more than 3.0, and they are on the way to become 4.0. Not only in India, across the globe. There are mass manufactured items like mobile phones of the world or electronic components being manufactured. They're already even in India at 3.0, and it is going to move into a 4.0 unless otherwise they decide that the cheap labor is what they're going to be utilizing. Now, what is accelerating this growth is very, very important, and that is where you'll be able to understand, are we adopting to that point. See, in year 2010, the total number of connected equipments and machines and equipments in the world exceeded the human population. So in 2010, the population of the world was 7.3 billion, and the connected equipments in the world has exceeded the human population. By 2018, when the new survey was conducted, 19 and 20 no surveys so far done, this has become 4 times. Okay, the connected equipments in the world have exceeded the human population by 4 times, not that 4%, 4 times more. If not for the pandemic, by 2025, it would have become almost equal to maybe 30 to 40 times. So what is remaining are smart is only a smartphone in your pocket, not human beings. So what choice do we have but to adopt to the changes which are happening globally? And this is point number 1. So the connected machines going up. Second is the technology advancement which have happened in the peripheral ecosystem, starting with the sensors. Because industry 4.0, the 4th level, that will be needing a lot more of human sensing capability being done by machines. So sensors are very, very important in that one. So in the last maybe a decade and a half, the kind of developments which has happened in that particular area, the sensors have come down size-wise, maybe I would say a 100th the size. At 100th the size, it has got 1,000 times more capability to sense it. It's got 1,000 times more capability to transmit data. And it is maybe 100th the cost also. I still remember when I started as an engineer, a classical sensor for maybe a carbon monoxide to carbon and oxygen measurement used to cost 10 lakh rupees. But the same sensor can be bought at $1. I'm not talking about made in China. I'm talking about what is made in the developed world. $1 is the price of it. So what could be done by one sensor, you can put multiple of them. So sensors do take the data for it. And with that, you move into the next level, the big data comes from that. Continuous data comes in. So big data analysis. And then the advent of artificial intelligence. So with the artificial intelligence and the big data analyze, the ability of what a human being did can be done by this artificial intelligence with the sensing combination. And that signal is given to an advanced robot, which is capable of communicating on the cyber physical level. So that is where a human being is not needed, and that is what is the digitization. Now there are industries which are adopted to that. There are industries which are adopting to that. And to my happiness as an Indian, even the medium and small scale industry of India are moving faster. In fact, I would say they are better placed because their processes are not so complicated, and the shop floors are smaller in size. So adaptation capabilities are far superior for them. So giving final answer for that is, yes, Indian manufacturing industry is very well briefed about it, seized upon that, and we are moving in the direction. And some of them will reach there faster, some will take some time. That's it.
That's heartening to know. Your last organization saw movement in adapting to digital transformation a couple of years ago. What challenges did you face when you took up this initiative?
To start out with, I was a dismosy kind of a person in the beginning of my career, not anymore at this age, possibly. When I was always interested in doing things differently, faster, better. And I had this continuous dissatisfaction about what is happening as a status quo. I wanted things to be moving ahead. So I would always energize my people to go ahead with that. Somewhere when I started it off, we had a CIO in the company, Chief Information Officer, and he's the one who was possibly managing. So he could help us in maybe implementation of an ERP. So ERP was all prevalent in all the business of the company. One of the earliest to implement the ERP in every business of the company. There were hiccups, we corrected it. But somewhere I recognized that that is not good enough. How to digitize the entire organization? My motivation for this came when I attended a program in Hong Kong conducted by one of the large multinationals. I'm talking maybe 6-7 years back. And there, somebody who was talking about how the world is going to be changing, how the industries of maybe the future are going to be. And there was a very specific slide which indicated that 10% of the global Fortune 500 companies already have a position of a chief digitization officer created. And they have that position elevated to an executive board level and empowerment done. So I came back with the clarity. Flight back from Hong Kong to Bombay, I've decided I'm going to have a CDO. And in any case, I may be a heavy engineering company, but I don't care. I need to have this being done. I should be the first in the country to do that. Came back, and of course, I had the permission of the board to go ahead with that one. And I could attract a very senior person who was a CDO for an automobile company. Why I wanted automobile as a multinational German automobile company, but they are already at maybe on the verge of going to 4.0. Got him as a CDO, attracted him to come over here. And we have called in Terra Consultancy Services to help us to make a roadmap for the organization, to create a digitization roadmap for the company. And a 1-year program, 3-year program, and a 10-year program. Because it's a journey, it can't happen overnight. So I'm very happy to say that we have been able to manage. But you asked the question, what challenges did I face? First and foremost, many of us are not willing to adopt at the speed of a Moore's law, because electronics move more slowly, and that is multiplication every year. So at that level, do human beings have, even if the brain has the capability, they have got the adaptation capability to move such a fast pace, and I found it very, very difficult. So one advantage that we had is that we had a participative mechanism. Instead of it being top-driven and say that this is the way you're going to be doing, so you only give a challenge. We wanted to showcase one of them. So we did it in one of our factories, the latest factory in any case of constructing in southern part of India. We decided it is going to be digitized as a factory. And I had the permission from incidentally mayor and the board that, okay, you can afford to spend. I would have spent maybe almost a 50% more capital investment to have manufacturing execution system, MES system, one of the earliest heavy engineering company in India to develop it and do that. A lot of problems were there, but I had a set of youngsters who were bent upon making it happen. So today is a showpiece for the country. There is no factory in the heavy engineering where you have a massive absorption chiller, which may be weighing maybe 20 tons in weight, totally coming under MES system and welding done by advanced robot. And in that factory, I mean, my customer can see from outside as to what is the stage of the order that is under execution. So it is possible, but you can't, overnight make all this happen. So division by division, you're going to do. Train your people. And I would say the biggest challenge that you're going to be facing is the middle level management, because they are held accountable for delivering the results. It's not the top that to deliver the results, it's the middle level management. The junior guys are executors. So middle level may not want the change, not because they're against that one. They have this combination. So you have to take them into their decision-making process, and they own up the digitization roadmap. And many a times we at the top level have this impatience. Say what the consultant will say can be done in 12 months, we'll say, can you do it in 6 months? Without realizing, you also need to make a balance sheet at the same time. So that's something which we have been able to be successfully managing. But I'm not trying to say that it is a absolute clean journey. It is a bit difficult. It's still continuing. So that's about my own experience on the ground.
No, I think you very rightly said because we are also currently, in fact, doing a couple of similar searches where organizations are wanting to hire a chief digital officer. So I think industry is moving towards that trend.
Yeah.
My next question would be, what skill sets do you believe are the most essential for an organization to meet its digital transformation agenda? Or more importantly, do you believe it is just the change in mindset?
Both are true, Sonal. Why? Why both are equally important? Let me tell you what makes this kind of this transformative. It is not some improvement being. There's a transformation, a planetary shift, and a change in the way you operate is what happens in all of this. So for that, you should have an ability to unlearn what you learned already, which is the most difficult thing for organization to give up what you have. Or the system is already working well. Why you want to tamper with and change? It's a main question that anybody right from bottom to the bottom, anybody would ask you that question. So ability to unlearn to learn more. So that is the first organizational ability needed. And it's certainly unlearning, learning, and then relearning, because not that, I mean, what you learned and improved is sufficient for it. Things are changing at such a pace that you may have to give up what you changed and again relearn it also further. This is an organizational ability. How will it happen? You need to have the skill upgradation needed at every level. Normally, when you talk about skill upgradation, most of us do think that it's meant for the shop floor worker.
True.
Or maybe you'll say the engineer level. Sorry, in digitization process, it starts with the CEO. You should have an ability to unlearn. You should have an ability to learn the new techniques of doing it. And ideally speaking, this is your topic itself is what is the trait of the leader? His trait should be that impatience and something better every day should happen. Innovative in thinking, creative in thinking. These are the traits needed over there. And unless otherwise, your senior management team, which I would say is a tier 2 and maybe the layer 1, N-1 level, below the CXO level. Those guys are the people who will have to ensure that they upskill themselves. And they will unlearn also, because they are the people who created the current processes in a company. For them to go away from that. For example, just give me one example for that.
Sure.
If you go to have, say, maybe in a project-oriented organization, engineering is done in any case by a level of people. You know,
right.
Somebody designs, somebody checks it. There is a big guy sitting with a swollen head as a chief engineer or somebody, or general manager engineering, or vice president engineering, and he's the guy who solves all the problem. Sorry, when you have an automated system created, artificial intelligence coming into all of this, it's quite likely that most of those kind of knowledge-based systems are already transferred. There is a learning possible. The machines learn on their own. I'm talking about machines, even a computer learns on its own. From mistakes, it corrects itself. So in that case, the importance of these people may go. When you adopt the new process, these are the people who say, sorry, they may commit a mistake. Sorry, they won't commit a mistake. Even if they commit a mistake, the machine will learn faster than a human being. So this is something which is a must for an organization to understand. It is a mindset change, not at the bottom level. An executor is always willing to do a new way of doing the work, provided his efforts are not needed more. If I'm a welder, you make my life easier with an automated welding machine given to me or a robot given to me. I'm willing to learn. Instead of welding with the hand, I'm willing to run a robot. But is a manager, general manager, vice president, or a president willing to change the way of thinking? And is he willing to invest more money? Because automation doesn't come free. Investment is in the beginning is high, but what do you gain out of that? Higher productivity which will pay back in the future, and a very high quality that you get, consistency that you get. Because machines don't commit mistakes, human beings will commit mistakes. So your consistency, your quality will be far superior in that.
Sure. Would you also believe that as companies adapt to advanced technologies, does it create a more engaging and value-driven experience for customers as well?
Yeah, he's the number one beneficiary. In fact, digitized systems, first and foremost, you can trust a company if they got a system, it's already, it's foolproof. Otherwise, the system won't work. More importantly, with the advent of IoT coming in, there are two benefits the customer is gaining. First and foremost, he is able to interact with the company in a far superior way without a human being intervening. As I mentioned about, when you involve, say, maybe a manufacturing execution system, and if you are able to give a password to the customer, imagine somebody gave you an order for an equipment, but maybe 1 crore rupees. and it is going to be manufactured in your company, starting to design, then manufacturing, testing, all put together in a 6-month period of time. You may get worried about that in case if this equipment doesn't come in time, my entire project, which is going to be 100 crore or 200 crore, is going to get delayed. Even a 1 month delay there, the bank is going to be after me to pay moratorium will get over. So in such a situation, imagine that if me as a company were to give an access to my customer, that he can visit whenever he wants, once a week, and find out which stage is current order in execution. Design started, design got over for so and so, completed, procurement happened, then move ahead with fabrication going on, this happening, testing happening, all that. So he can have maybe a peaceful mind. So which customer will not want that? And these are going to be also an edge available, a competitive advantage available for you to be doing it also.
Absolutely.
That is one point which I mentioned about. Second advent of automation, with the sensors coming in, you can have a remote service sensing capability by which sitting anywhere in the world, you'll be able to understand as to what is the performance of the equipment. In any case, digitization changing our life, forget about factories. You will be able to see Sonal sitting. I mean, imagine that right now at this point of time, you want to now remember that, okay, today evening some guests are going to come. Might as well keep my, AC started 2 hours in advance because Bombay is not talking today, the warm type. You can remotely switch on the AC and decide which AC should start also. Everything in the life is going to be automated. So the same is a possibility. So a remote management of services and ensuring that you are able to also remotely equipment corrections, software upgradations, all that can be done remotely. It's very normal these days, and there's no rocket science in any of that. So the customer is the number one beneficiary in terms of service available. People depend on digitization.
Yes, and I'm sure it gives a lot of confidence as well to a customer.
Yeah.
So, what is that one trait that makes digital ready front runners stand out from the rest? The ones who have adapted to this technology quite well in advance.
I would say leaders. I mean, leaders. I'm not talking about the leader of a company. It can be at any level. There are people who live in the past. There are people who are living in today. There are also people who live in the future. So I would say the leader who is living in the future is the most ideal one for those who succeeded very well in advancement of technology, advancement of digitization process. Because I'll tell you the reason for it. I'm differentiating it like this. I don't know whether there is a mechanism for people like you to understand who's the one who's living in the past and the current and all. It is not by age. Age of the would be there. It is by the traits of the person. There are people who believe in only proven systems. Okay. You talk to maybe I would say that half the management personnel across the globe, including the most developed, will always want to believe only in what is experienced by others. So if you are always looking forward to something already a proven system, I mean, not everything in the world gets proven. So they'll always go for a conservative attitude towards that. Then there are people who are living in the current, which I mentioned about. Yeah, the people who are solving the problems of tomorrow, as of today. But there are some managers who, I mean, they are not worried about the past. Past in any case is already available to you. There are other people to take care of. I'm talking about a leader. And in any case, current, there are other set of people to look after all of that. It's all there. But I want to live in tomorrow. So I'm always thinking about what all are the possibilities, not worries or problems. So I have this edifice available as an organization. What should it be in the future? And when you think on those lines, you will compare with what is happening in the best way anywhere in the world, not in your country alone. So and you adopt that in some areas. In developing countries like India, it's more adaptation, which you'll do so that you rise up yourself. Then there will be, when you already have the concept from being a domestic also ran leader of a company, you become a domestic leader. Then you don't worry about, I mean, whether you're going to remain as a domestic leader, there are other people in the company who will take care of it. Then you start mentally competing with the best in the world. So you benchmark onto that. And for India, he is living in the future, which is already a current in some other place. And there are companies of the kind, leaders of the kind who have already taken the companies to become the global leaders. And those guys, once they reach over there, what are they dreaming of? There's no competition. That is where you live in the future. You're already the best. You're going to be doing something far superior. So those are the kind of leadership traits needed. And that impatience, that I'm unhappy with what's happening around me and I want something more to happen. That's the leadership trait needed for the future.
True. I have a question which has just come in. What would be your advice to corporate leaders and managers to assess if the current or proposed digital transformation strategy is holistic in nature or not? Are there any specific functions that they need to focus on to begin with?
I would say that in the modern world, you cannot take a function and do that. You've got to be thinking holistically end to end for it. But while implementing, should you take up the entire thing like heating up the entire ocean, or should you take each stream to be heated up as that depends upon the complexity of the organization. But the thinking has got to be holistic in nature. I do remember like when we started, of course, we tried in one business and did that thing. It is easier to take on areas where it's already, first of all, you've got a set of people who are good thinkers. Second, it is not at the primitive stage in the operations. And in any case, it should be a pain point for the organization because then everybody will be willing to change. 3 ingredients needed for it. I remember in one of our businesses, water business to be precise, that one. The biggest challenge was they never had a dearth of inquiries. Inquiries are piling upon them, but they are unable to be delivering the proposals in time on, and even if it goes, it's incomplete equal to that. I remember having, they came and asked me for, so those days I remember, asked me for 8 or 10 proposal engineers to be recruited for it. I remember having told the business at that time that I will not give you one human being. I'll give you 25 lakhs instead of per person. So 10 people here take 2.5 crores from me. And with that, what you need to do is that make a proposal robo. What is a proposal robo? I mean, somebody is going to, the human being, the robo is going to be. No, it's a consult as thought through. But I'm very happy to say that they've done it in a period of maybe 18 to 24 month period of time. And today the entire proposals are done in maybe earlier one would talk about a target of maybe, so 2 weeks I'll make it 1 week, I'll make it maybe 1 day. Today it goes in minutes. So those are the way you're going to try it out. So the pain point area, they'll implement it. Your question was, should it be holistic? The pivotal leader of the company should think about the future as a holistic way only. Where is the organization going to be ending? And then when you cut it into pieces, it will be function-wise or business-wise. That's how it is going to be done. That's the way it's planned for it.
Oh, sure. How receptive are existing employees to the move towards digitization? And what works best? Would training existing workforce or acquiring relevant capabilities? What would be your views?
It's a combination of both. And it's not a one word or a binary answer for it either. It depends upon the level of organization and the level of trust going on in the organization. See, hierarchical organizations will find it very difficult to transform into a highly digitized way. An informal organization is the one where it can be done faster, in my opinion. So that's the first sign I would say. Why hierarchical was because in hierarchical you always look for upwards for decision making. Digitization path and automation path of this kind that we are currently talking about will need the changes to be brought in at every stage, on the shop floor, at the mission work center, in a section of work, in the plant, in a factory, and cluster of factories, and the entire value chain related to starting with your I would say design engineering to material planning to procurement to the manufacturing, entire logistics management, construction, commissioning, post-sale service, life cycle management, entire areas have to be done. So there is nothing is going to be left out. So informed organization, informal organization where they know what is happening, it will make it easier for you because it's not a compartmentalized digitization process. It's an interlinked network one. So you need to have a culture of the company. Not that others can't do that. It will take longer time for them. That's the first sign I would talk about it. And second is you ask the question, is training going to be helping? A lot. At the end of the day, training what? Training to adopt to the new thing and to give up the current is also a necessity. In fact, one area where I've seen people who fail is that they will do a parallel running of the existing system and the new one, then you will never succeed. cut off on a particular date and say that you are not going to have the system existing from X date onwards, so move into the other one. So such kind of tougher decisions are needed in that area. Then the next thing is, there are areas where an organization may not have an existing capability, especially when you're getting into digitization path. Data orientation, data analytics, and machine learning process. Some of these are not going to be there in your company. So you have to, sorry to say, buy talent today for it, and later train. I'm sorry, since you're from a particular area, this is going to be shaking the organization. Just imagine if you're going to be getting a very junior guy with a 3 years experience in data analytics, and he was to be paid the salary of a senior manager, which ideally, I mean, conventional Indian organization will resist to do that way. Then you will never automate your organization, never digitize your organization. So you've got to buy talent. By means lateral recruitment is a necessity, and which may have a differential pay structure also is a necessity. But the best thing for the future is to create your own internal talent. Part will be where you can train people. Where can you train a person? To improve his current working, you can train a person. You can give him 1 degree change in his current work, but you cannot train a person from, say, operating from a different platform so easily. Worker is possible. You can train a worker who's currently on maybe a partially automated CNC machine to get into a robot, because his area is restricted. There's not too much of brain power to be utilized. Whereas, imagine that if you're going to be having a design platform change brought in, maybe a design area, the design engineer to get used to a new platform, it's not going to be an easy task. So there it is better to get a person who's trained in that one, and he trains your people later. So these are the kind of answers you're going to search for. But I would say that training is a necessity. Upskilling is a necessity. As I mentioned earlier, it's not upskilling of some junior people. Managing director to be upskilled. That's where you're going to tell the guy that it is very good once in a while to do a test of the people, and don't publish the results about all of that. That is their, how literate are they related to digitization. Privately, they should do that. Once they know that they need to be getting trained, and allow them to be applying for training on their own. And this has to continue. And as I mentioned about why there is an unlearning and relearning needed, because the mechanisms available are going to be improved across the time, and that too very fast. So you're going to again relearn and adopt to that. So there is a training requirement, but lateral recruitment also needed for it. That's what we need to adopt.
With a paradigm shift to digital transformation, can a digitized workplace be a more attractive place for fresh engineers? Do you think they will now look at manufacturing as an IT-enabled sector with this shift? Given that most of the engineers, tend to move to IT-enabled jobs more than moving to manufacturing.
In fact, the answer lies in that only, IT enablement. What are you doing when you're going to digitize a manufacturing organization? You are doing an IT-enabled manufacturing process. So why won't engineers get attracted to this? In fact, I would say that in the future, the brighter engineers will want to work in a manufacturing organization. What happened in the recent past between maybe industry 2.0 and 3.0, the attraction for the shop floor has gone away, because the engineers, I know about that. When we recruit younger, a lot of engineers for the company, nobody wants to get into the factory shop floor. And we always told that, that because they don't want to dirty their hand. No, they are willing to dirty. This is my personal experience. But they're not willing to deal with a unionized labor, because they are not come from some village. They are lived in maybe an apartment society on the 20th floor, and he never met up with such people of the kind. So it is alien to him that way. So there was almost a generation of Indians who shunned from getting into the shop floor. Once you have an elevated worker who's also qualified and paid well, unions and all are going to be disappearing. In fact, the number of days lost to strikes in the country has come down by almost, the latest number they talk about is 70%. The number of strikes have come down by 70% in the country, because though all what you read in the newspaper related to migrant labor, all those are all the temporary affairs, or maybe because of the pandemic. Otherwise, that area is moving out today. So coming back to that, and even the shop floors, as you digitize it, the most modern machines of the world are going to be there in the shop floor tomorrow. And why even you're talking about that? Machines are also learning from each other. In that, why don't you want to be remaining in manufacturing? Now let me give you a concept related to it. an example and a concept later. See, when you digitize the manufacturing process, ultimately you can automate the entire shop floor. And classical example is of a bearing company. Okay, they are there in this country also. I won't name them. They had a factory in this country which is built maybe in 1970s or something like that. Same time they had a factory built up also in Europe, similar kind of capacity. The Indian company which had employed more than 1,000 workmen, when they come down to something like maybe 500 workmen as the last count was taken maybe 3-4 years back. And in the meantime, with so much changes happening in the European continent, that place started working at almost one-third, maybe I think 150 workmen also. But they decided to, junk that old facility in Europe and construct a new factory. This I'm talking about around 10 years back. On the design board, that particular company wanted a similar kind of a plant with a little more capacity and then fully automated. And the CEO gave a challenge to the people that I'll want this company factory to be run with maximum 1 worker or at the best 2. Where India is employing even now 500 people. And to myself, I mean, all of us are also surprised about will they ever create such a factory. 2.5 or 3 years back, they commissioned the plant with 13 workmen and with the progressive plan to make it into 1 worker. So when you do that, yeah, this is there. So, but that worker, when you remove the worker who's managing the entire manufacturing, you would have heard about something called the digital twin. So whatever is automated process is replicated in the factory with the digital twin. And to manage that, you need some of the finest quality engineers. And those guys are going to be paid maybe 3 times more than a conventional engineer. So why won't you have the better engineers coming forward? When you have advancement of technology and the gizmos in the factories are going to be of a higher nature, you'll get high quality engineers to come. You'll have to afford them also. But you don't need too many of them available. Then to make all this happen, let me tell you, how will you automate the process? You need a lot more of additional machinery. And who will create that? Who will design that? So that's again manufacturing. So in my opinion, the type of jobs in the future are going to be changing in the world. And the faster the engineers understand what that changes are going to be, and they configuring and calibrating the studies according to that, get trained for it and join such companies, they'll enjoy their work. And it's going to happen.
In fact, my next question was quite related. Do you believe that with the education programs of today in universities for manufacturing engineers, mechanical engineers, will be tuned to Industry 4.0?
Not the conventional colleges and the curriculum that is available. There, since you asked about education institution, and since I'm sitting in one of them, I'll tell you, government has taken the initiative for it. There is a university-linked education in engineering, where the curriculum is decided by the university academic board, and all colleges affiliated to them will have to have the subjects taken for that and vagara vagara. That's one type of thing. Second is where the autonomous. There are, just to keep you informed, there are 180 Maharashtra alone. Maybe near to 600-700 autonomous colleges where there is an autonomy available for academic freedom available to them. Those colleges are no more teaching progressively mechanical engineering. They are teaching mechatronics. They are getting into manufacturing, automated manufacturing. They are having combinations of engineering. So the boundaries between mechanical, electrical, civil, all that is going away. So there will only be engineering. And those kind of guys will enjoy it. And that ecosystem is getting developed. It is getting developed in the country.
Sure. Do you believe that digital transformation, is it a dynamic process and not a binary switch? And has the pandemic led to an acceleration of digital adoption as well as acceleration of digitalization?
Absolutely. Your first question is, see, organization-wise, it is a process of dynamic only. There are work centers where it could be binary also. Where you're going to have an advanced robot installed, which has got a self-learning capability from the existing CNC machine. It's a binary thing. As simple as that. So the worker and the engineer and the supervisor involved in that entire process have to have a binary shift. It's a change totally. Whereas for the entire manufacturing unit of the factory, it's a dynamic process. And even when you change it, that doesn't mean that, that is the end of it. And there are enough and more brains in the world working as to how to make it obsolete in any case in few years. New version will happen, which will be far superior. So then again, you're going to be adapting to that. So this is going to be a continuous process. It is going to be a continuous process, and it is going to be very dynamic. So what does it mean also? So there's an adaptability and a change management requirement right from shop floor everywhere in the world when the world is getting digitized. And the manifestation of this is going to be much different, Sonal, going forward. Because one thing which India is that we experiencing is the 5G. We heard about 5G going to happen. And all of us are fully interested in buying the new 5G phone. That's all of us are waiting for. Already is there in the market. It's already 5G enabled. 5G is not available in the country. The moment it is there, we think that, okay, I can speak better. I can send maybe WhatsApp messages faster. The videos can be seen. Sorry. It is going to make the single largest change, at least one can think about in the recent past. I'm talking about maybe when mobile happened versus the next major changes is going to be 5G introduction. It is going to be hitting at every part of the process in life and in the industry also. And those will bring in a lot more of add-ons. And there, I would say that, well, we don't even know what all changes can happen in that. For example, machines will have a community. Can you believe that? If I'm supplying a specific machine, for example, maybe a generating set made by X company, and that design is there across the globe, maybe a 5,000 of them are running, that particular model. And imagine that a fault were to be found in one particular machine working in Czechoslovakia. And that was corrected by that company. And the moment that correction is done, if it is software correction, all the 4,999 working the rest of the world, as a community member, will automatically upgrade this particular process into the new one. That's that point of something is changed. So the machine community is going to be developing, and that will be instantaneous once you have the 5G coming in. Similarly, a scanning machine or MRI scanner provided by Siemens, that great machine that you have over there. And they found out in the research studies that there is some set point in that one which is going to be corrected because they found out something error or maybe something new related to human studies come in that way. One machine they corrected, they don't need to be telling the service engineer to change the set point everywhere in the world. Through communication, it will get changed. So these are the kind of things which are unimaginable, which are going to be happening in the world. And we're going to get preparing. I mean, you have to prepare ourselves for that kind of a changes also.
Yeah. I'm sure the world needs to prepare it and be ready for a dynamic process for these changes.
Yeah.
Great. I'll pick up another question. India is one of the most connected countries in the world, at least in terms of personal mobility. So tech adaptability is there. Would that also help in accelerating the digitization trajectory?
100%. It is proven that younger than a lot of people, they are seeking change and they're adopting to change faster. So country, not only that, Indians are connected, they are also the youngest population available in the world of, say, workable age. The age bracket of 15 to 55, the single largest demographic dividend that we talk about is our advantage. And they are capable of adapting this. Certainly, yes. Just imagine like this Indians, the guy who's dropped out of the school maybe at 5th standard still knows many of the activities of a mobile phone. He'll know more than many of the highly educated people. So that is there. That skill is already there. I would say application knowledge related to advanced communication is already known, very well spread in the country, and it will spread more. So adaptability will.
Sure. And now with the focus on Make in India and the quick adaptation to digitization as we are discussing, would India be able to make a leap in the pegging order of manufacturing hub?
I would say it is in any case going to happen on two reasons. Number one is the largest manufacturing hub of the world is going up in cost. So cost arbitrage available to China is substantially, it's coming down, and it will come down at a faster pace in any case. So India is not going to go up at the same rate. It will take a much longer period for India to be reaching anywhere closer to them. So there is a window available for us to attract that, number one. Second, the geopolitical changes which are happening, the new blocks getting formed in the world. will compel many to be looking at India as another option. That is a China plus one manufacturing idea of the world. Second, no China manufacturing because of alignment reasons. And options available are many, but talent available is not as high as India. If we are able to play the game very well, that is very important. We cannot be as assertive as our neighbor had been in the world once they got money in the hand and power in the hand. India should be very, very savvy about it. I still do remember in year 2002 in the World Economic Forum, I'll not remember the name of the great Harvard professor who presented the economic growth model of the world. I'll possibly I'm missing his name anyway. He is the guy who got his, Harvard full professorship at the age of 31. It's very normally you get it only when you lose your hair. His name was recommended for Nobel Prize before he was 40, which is also not a normal thing. So he only presented the global mathematical model of economic growth of the world. That slide is there with me somewhere even now. He predicted that by 2038, China will overtake America's economy in size and scale. India may overtake that 5 years down the line. But one thing is put as a caveat that this is by Jeffrey Sachs. Jeffrey SSCH, Sachs is a Jeffrey Sachs economist I'm talking about. He's a Colombian.
Okay.
So what he told is that this is practical provided in America's willingness to coexist with another two economies which are bigger than them, number one, and the political sagacity to be displayed by the leadership of both China and India are the clauses which Jeffrey Sachs has put over there. Now in that one has already proven that they are inching closer to America, but they are not showing the political sagacity to not to allow America to accept the fact that they have to coexist with them. It is totally the other way. So India, our manufacturing growth and we playing a major role in the digitized world and as an alternative for that particular country can happen provided we show the political sagacity to ensure that we don't become a pariah, because it's not an engineering subject or a technology subject, because beyond a certain level, for us to be relevant to the world, there should be a lot more of maturity among our political community and the leadership community, industry and everywhere, because we have an opportunity available. And I'm looking forward to that to happen to India. And I'm sure it will happen also, because as of now, the signs are very positive. But if we also imagine that today you are only a 3 trillion economy, it's come down, maybe we'll go back to that. And we become a 5 trillion economy. The 5 trillion economy is equal to Japan and maybe some of the European countries which will reach there along with us. But 5 to 10, the journey is very important for India. Because that others may not have a market available to take it from 5 to 10. India has got a consuming market available. 65% of our GDP is from consumption. So India has got an opening available for the 5 to 10. We can go like the way China has gone. That time, the leadership of the country should not see the wealth of the country and try to behave like many others have behaved. Then every opportunity will be lost. So it is a combination of our ability in technology development, running companies, adaptation to the latest, but also the leadership of the country at every sphere, I would say that, to be coexisting, inclusive, and into the global standards, what's going to be prevailing now. I don't know what kind of systems are going to be prevailing. Will democracy survive or autocracy only? I don't know. I can't predict on that. Whatever is going to be the prevalent system, that time we are going to be adapting to that, and then don't antagonize others. That is all. Then India is there in the game. That's my thinking.
Sure. And I'm sure, and this would up us in terms of, the quality of manufacturing standards even more.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if I go back to one original point, would the speed of digitization slow down the flight of talent from India with the availability of high-tech manufacturing happening in the country?
I would say flight of talent at two aspects. One is opportunities available. If opportunities are available more, talent will remain over here. Talent will return back to the country also. See, today returning of the talent is happening in various areas. Since I'm sitting in the academic world today, a lot of high quality manpower in the teaching arena coming back to India to join IITs of the world. That is number one happening. Scientists are coming back. Maybe very senior people are coming back and looking at jobs, because jobs are also paying at certain level. The purchasing power parity, if you look at it, a CEO in India gets almost equal to what you would get in a comparable country, I mean, advanced world. So that is already there. But an engineer is not getting it. So that's why they may still look forward to it. So as their opportunities improve, this also will improve. That's the point number one in terms of opportunity availability. But there are people who may want to currently itself live in a country which is more advanced. So you can't deny that opportunity. So it is nothing to do with the opportunity available over here. I don't want to live in India, Indian living standards, with all the improvement you and I are talking about. Some people feel that I would rather live in a place where it is a little more cleaner, less population. I mean, we cannot tell people to make a way for people. I mean, so those are the kind of things that happen. But in the logical sense, the flight to talent can be contained substantially. There is a specific point on digitization. Digitization, automation, and all this also do need different kind of talent. India really had the planetary shift happening in Y2K time, year 2000, when Y2K happened. Entire IT industry got created with that only. Today, you've got companies which thesis is $25 billion, and HCL, the fifth in the country, is also crossed a double digit, $10 billion in the current year. So we created a $140 billion edifice of IT industry with Y2K and going forward. But the industry 4.0 is going to be creating another digitization where you need a combination of code writing and engineering and experienced engineers put together, which is a lot of them available in India. And I'm looking at this as an opportunity for India also. So why would they want to go now to America to do the code writing? They'll sit in Bangalore or Pune or Gurgaon or maybe new cities that you're going to be creating and do that. So substantially, because this is a digitization we talk about for manufacturing is an opportunity. But who's going to digitize the world? I would say it's Indians. Right. You look at, forget about manufacturing. Even your say unique identification, UIDI, your way, I'm talking about Aadhaar card itself, is a kind of a thing which is never achieved by anybody in the world. And even today, what you created as a COVID in the pandemic thing, we are offering it to the rest of the world. So our ability to think in a larger size and replicate and execute it is fairly good. So we are going to, in my opinion, manufacturing digitization and livelihood and life digitization, which is also another part of which I mentioned about, India will play a major role, 100%.
Wonderful. I'm sure all of us are very curious to know about your recent movement from a corporate leader into academia. Would request if you could share this transition.
Well, see, it is something which I was preparing myself for. I could have continued in the industry. Thermax itself, I have completed 13 plus years. If not Thermax, I could have gone to any industry. But somewhere I did feel that there's an impatience within me that making a balance sheet, and we have successfully created it in creating wealth. Is that the end of my life, or is there anything that is unexplored remaining within me? I had a lot of proximity right from the beginning in technology orientation in me. And teaching. I always loved communicating. And in the company also, we have grouped a lot of people. It is not one level grooming. It is more of a management grooming, technological grooming. So somewhere I felt that I should move out of this and get into academy. And coming into this area, I was ideally expected to become a professor of practice in another IIT. But because of the pandemic, I wanted to be closer to the place of residence so that I don't have to travel by flight. So I opted for this. But instead of teaching over here, I am now running a research academy, which is only for PhD. So is it an enriching experience? Yes, really enriching experience. Though the span is only just about less than a year. And I'm sure one should be able to. A lot can be done in this area and a lot is needed to be done. Whatever we preach from the high seat in the CEO chair about technology, now we have the opportunity available. So I truly believe that India has got to be having a lot more of technology creations done. Whatever is adopted in India is all, sorry to say that way, our entire electricity system efficiency is only average of 30-35%. And majority of fuel we are going to be importing in the future coming in because gaseous fuels are only going to be allowed. And how can you burn dollars of the kind? So we're going to create our own technology. So who's going to create the technology? It is academia. But academia cannot create it unless the user is going to be participating. So my entire intention is, I don't think I can make the entire difference. But if we are able to ensure that there is a better academia industry interaction happening on number one, and many more Unnikrishnans are there in the country, who are willing to give up a cushy career of running an organization, earning big sum, to give up that. And at least after your India needs are taken care of, you need to build the nation. And in that, the primary institutions are the teaching institutions. And we have the role to play, is what I believe in. If you ask me, am I happy? More than happy. Very happy, is what I would say.
That's such a noble cause and so inspirational to know. Great. So, in the last 5 minutes, let's make the conversation a little more light. And I have a few rapid fire questions for you, if you allow me to ask.
You can, please, by all means, go ahead.
Wonderful. Um, have you picked up a hobby during your spare time? Is there something that you like to do?
Reading had been my main hobby, but other than that, right from younger age, listening to music, if that is a hobby. Otherwise, we are talking about as a physical activity wise. I used to play chess till maybe before I becoming managing director. After that, personally, I couldn't continue.
Sure. Great. Which is your favorite vacation destination? Do you like traveling?
Yeah, of all the places that I've visited, I would rate Langkawi as the best place to be seen because that's so isolated, so close to nature, both mountains and the sea combination. Excellent food. And say, Aldous Huxley once wrote an article about on doing nothing. So you can do an on doing nothing in Langkawi. That's one place which I really enjoyed outside India.
I think that answers my next question. I was going to ask whether beaches or mountains, what is it that attracts you more?
Beaches and mountains both attract me, but beach more. And mountains as a number two.
Okay, sure.
Combination is the best.
Is there any sport that you follow?
Of course, cricket, of course, is one which I have followed for a fairly long time. Not
That's
in
a
the
religion
recent
in
past.
India.
Yeah, unfortunately.
That I call
Though,
as a religion in India.
no, but as a youngster, since I come from Kerala, it is not cricket, it is unheard over there. I used to play football, used to play quite well even for my school I played for. Even NIT, I was a team member in the first year. It's a great thing to get into the college team in the first year. But I had an accident by which I had to stop playing. That's where my interest on this waned and got into cricket. Not as a player, but more of somebody who will follow.
Sure. And who brings a smile on your face?
It is natural, I would say that. So it is not one human being. You can bring in a laugh, smile on my face. Anybody, because see, I have never had any enmity with anybody. I approach everything with an inclusive attitude. Be happy, happy-go-lucky, equivalent of that. So it's very difficult to make me angry that way. Not that I don't get angry, but those are rare occasions. It's only an outburst of, I would say that one of the things that helplessness may bring in anger. I don't really otherwise get angry. Otherwise, I'm generally a smiling person. And I also told that I don't need to open my mouth. All the teeth will be visible. That's God's gift.
One last question. What is it that drives you today?
Oh, I want India to do good and Indians to do good. So whatever can be the contribution that I can make into it is already there as a patriot. Whatever I did also in Thermax or anything related to that, I always believed that as an energy and environment, and we were very innovative as a company, and extracting the large part of the energy from whatever we do. It is not that because I started my career over there as a training engineer, so I learned the language of the industry. Making money was secondary for that organization, and I'm sure it is continuing in the same way. It is creating technology, innovating, and in the bargain, of course, you're also making money. See, I would say truly the organization who are going to be lasting. I'm only taking the example of Tata Steel, the oldest Tata Group company. They had the gumption and audacity to advertise maybe 10, 15 years back about what all are they doing in the society as a company. At the bottom, they'll write, we also make steel. If organizations have that kind of an attitude that you are not existing here to, I'm sorry to use the word shareholder value appreciation, it in any case will happen. But if that is your goal and target, you don't sustain beyond a level. And incidentally, in any case, in the current world, who are the companies who are doing good and who are going to be doing good? All those who are ESG compliant, environment, society, and governance are the three things which the world is going to look at. And you got to have the clarity that it's just not about money that you're creating. That is my understanding also. And this is an area where that patriotism is there in me, and I want India to do good, and it can only do well if case Indians do well.
Sure. It has been a great pleasure talking to you as always and having this free-flowing discussion. Hope you enjoyed the conversation as well. I would like to thank all on behalf of the 3P team for your valuable time on a Friday evening. Before I close formally, I would request all participants to fill up the survey forms at the end of the session. Your feedback is of utmost importance to us. Thank you so very much for your time. Stay safe and have a great day ahead. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.